Hey bosses, real quick before we get started, I want to let you know about our sponsor, Indeed.com. They are the #1 job search and job posting platform out in the US. We'll tell you more about them during the break. Welcome to the Invest Like a Boss podcast.
I'm Sam Marks.
And I'm Johnny FD. We're self-made entrepreneurs who invest our own money and use modern technology to invest like a boss.
Join us each week for exclusive interviews with our network of modern investors, business owners, and multimillionaires to discover new ways to invest our hard-earned cash.
Hey bosses, this is Johnny and welcome to episode 155 of the Invest Like a Boss podcast. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Johnny. Welcome back, everybody, and looking forward to doing a sequel. Our first sequel, is this not?
Yeah, maybe, at least on the topic. So if you guys had listened to episode 147, it was strip club economics, and it was really from the dancer side, how much money they make, how much they have to pay the club. And during that episode, a lot of people wanted to know, well, it sounds pretty lucrative. How do we invest into an actual strip club, or how do you open one? What are the economics on their side? How much money are they making? Where are they making money from? So I wanted to know. A lot of the listeners wanted to know. So we put Derek on the mission.
Hey guys, this was not an easy episode to set up. This is not a category that people come on and talk openly about, especially on podcasts. So awesome job to Derek for getting on Rori. And this was hot topic on my mind too. And the last episode with stripper economics, we learned that dancers can make a lot of money. $100,000 a year is basically common. And in that episode, we talked about some of her experiences with friends of hers that were making up to $300,000 a year. That's some serious change. And we know that a lot of them are not reporting that money. So in many ways, that's tax-free.
Yeah, and all this was actually born out of episode 145, which was coffee shop economics, a lot more PG and kind of normal friendly. But as investors, it's interesting. I mean, not every single subject we're going to invest in, but it's interesting to know the economics behind these investments. Is it profitable to start a Starbucks franchise or Dunkin' Donuts or local coffee shop? Is it profitable to start a bikini barista or work as a dancer or own a gentleman's club? It sounds like it might be. So I'm excited that Derek was able to get on Rori Gordon from Billy Deans Showtime Cafe. She might be one of the only female strip club owners in the U.S., which is pretty cool.
And they're located, I believe, up in the Northeast. Is it not Long Island?
Strong Island.
Strong Island. All right, great. Yeah. Well, I'm excited here, and I want to know what makes a difference in a successful club and one that outperforms and ones that fall apart. So, Johnny, I'm glad you picked up this episode. And without further ado, let's hear it from Rori Gordon and Johnny FD.
Hey bosses, I want to tell you about this week's sponsor, Indeed.com, the #1 job site in the world, because Indeed gets you the best people fast. So right now, there is a huge movement of remote work, and if your business is hiring, you have the potential of reaching people across the US for your job. But either way, if you're hiring locally or remote, you only have to pay for what you need, and you can pause your account at any time, and there's no long-term contracts. Unlike other sites, Indeed gives you full control and payment flexibility over your hiring. So right now, Indeed is offering our listeners a free $75 credit to boost your job post, which means more quality candidates will see it fast. Try Indeed out. The free $75 ad credit at Indeed.com/iLab. That's ILAB. This is the best offer available anywhere. Go right now to Indeed.com/iLab. Terms and conditions apply. Offer valid through September 30th, 2020. All right. Hey, Rori Gordon, welcome to the show.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. We had a dancer on a few episodes back. It was a 147. It was called stripper economics or dancer economics. And the #1 question we had from that was, what about the club side? How can somebody open a club or invest in a club, or actually how does it even work? So we were so excited when Derek reached out to you and got you on the show. So thanks for being on.
Thank you. How do people get started? I kind of fell into this industry. My prior experience was I owned a nightclub.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, back in the 80s, I had gone to a convention and I saw something, a show. It was called Foxy Boxing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, this would be great. I was already doing male dancing at my facility. So all the girls would come in, they'd watch the show, and then all the guys would come in after. And that led into doing Foxy Boxing, which that was like a previous career of mine. I did road shows, I traveled all over the world. And from that, I decided back in the 90s that I wanted to settle down. Traveling, which I think you would understand, is pretty rough.
Yeah, you get tired.
Yes. So doing tours is fun, but the older you get, the more difficult it gets.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1998, my partner, his name is Billy Dean, and we went out, we found a location, and it was a place that had all the ingredients, but it was not a gentleman's club.
Okay.
We were looking for a certain criteria based on the geographic location, Long Island, and having the experience that I had already had of owning a nightclub. So long and the short of it, we picked up this place. It had the proper permits. It was in the right neighborhood, variety of things. And we went on to open this business. So that's a little bit of the background of how I got into this avenue.
Oh, really interesting. And as a female strip club owner, that must be pretty rare. I'm assuming, most of the strip club owners around the U.S. at least, or maybe even around the world, would be male.
As far as I know, I have never met another female gentleman's club owner. Or as far as I know, 2 or 3 in the country. As far as the world, I have no idea. And the 2 or 3, I'm not even sure if they're still in the business. I know years ago, there was one gal, I think she ultimately became a judge.
Wow.
One of the court systems. Yeah, I read that. I read an article, but I've never met anybody else other than myself. And it wasn't something that I intentionally set up to do. I owned a nightclub. So I went from the nightclub, hiring the male dancers. Then after the male dancers, we came up with this concept of Foxy Boxing. And then from Foxy Boxing, we went on tour. And then after tour, we ended up putting feet in the ground and we started the Gentleman's Club.
Definitely makes sense.
I would not suggest that to the average Joe. Yeah, the average person would invest or go out and purchase a club. My partner has the experience in the entertainment field, and I have the promotional and marketing experience. But
definitely makes sense.
Yes, if somebody's just looking to get into it, I would not suggest them starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Bureaucracy.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, I don't know what it was like 20 years ago, but it seems like it's much harder today with finding a place that is permitted for it or to be able to go through the process of getting permits to open a gentleman's club.
I know in my area, which is Long Island, New York, it is pretty much impossible. And you're relegated to industrial parks, which we are not in because we've been in business for so long. And in the county that we're in, we really don't have any industrial parks. So it would be virtually impossible. But unless you're in it and you really have a good understanding of the industry, I would say buy from somebody else.
What do you think the pros and cons are of buying either an existing club that is doing well and is profitable versus buying one that maybe isn't, turning a big profit, maybe it's even losing money? Would you go in? Would you advise someone to go in and, spruce it up or, take kind of a failing club and try to market it better?
Me personally, I would never buy a club that was doing big numbers. I would always look to buy the underdog situation because I've done that my whole life. I've always taken businesses and propped them up. And marketing is so much to do with business, even in this business. It's not you open the doors and they will come. It's about being creative, promotional ideas. Years ago, for example, when direct mail was very popular, which now we have email today, what we would do is we collected data at the front door. In order to come in, you have to have 2 sets of ID. You have a driver's license, and then you have a credit card or something with your name on it. So long and the short of it is we developed a mailing list that way. And every year on a guest's birthday, we would send them a card enclosed in an envelope so nobody knew where it was coming from. And it would just say on the front, happy birthday. And when you opened it up, it was a birthday card, and it invited you and 15 guests to come in on any Wednesday or Thursday to drink for free for 2 hours. And you got a birthday cake. We gave them all this great incentives, and it introduced a lot of new people to our facility. Most people were never that creative in our business, especially on Long Island here, where at one time we might have had 15 clubs. I believe now we're down to 7 or 8, I'm not sure. And they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. So with that in mind, I took my knowledge from the nightclub industry and I just imposed it into the gentleman's club industry.
That sounds like a big expense to be able to give open bar for 15 people for 2 hours. Does it? I'm assuming there's an ROI in that you end up making your money back. Would it be that night or just kind of over the long run?
Oh, they get a choice. You got the card in the mail, and in the card it said you can come any Tuesday or Wednesday during the month of your birthday. So if you're able to introduce a new client to your business, and it's only costing you your liquor costs, postcard, and printing. I mean, you have your expenses anyway. The place is operating. You still have to pay electric. You still got to pay the girls. The expense is minimal because in those years when I did that, we figured it out to do TV time or radio time. To get a new guest was an average of about $100.
Wow.
So, it's not cheap. It's not. But once you get them, if you give them a good product, you're going to really reap the rewards in the end. And
have you ever tried calculating kind of an average, I don't know, maybe lifetime value of a customer? Do most guests come back more than once?
Well, we went through different phases. We had because we're there for so long, we were always reinventing ourselves. For instance, when we first opened the facility back in 1998, we did first a male review, and that was from 8 to 10. And it was a show. So you came in, you paid a ticket price. There was a 2 beverage minimum. And most of the girls that came were celebrating birthdays and bachelorette parties. And then the second show was the Foxy Boxing show. And in those years, it worked. But as years went on, people would get confused and they would call up and they go, is this a guy's club and a girl's club? And we went back and forth with it. And we ultimately swayed to doing the female show because for the house, it is more profitable. And we went and it was a learning curve for us. Even though we were in the entertainment business and we did what we did, we found out that doing an hour and 15-minute show, the guests actually stopped drinking. So the only money we made was from the cover charge and the 2 beverage minimum. And there was really no money made after that. Mm-hmm. But we developed something else. Then we started doing lap dances after the show was over. So instead of closing the facility at 2:00 in those years, you could stay open till 4. So from 2 to 4, we started doing lap dances. And it's like anything else. When you're in business, you got to keep trying different things. So in our case, we realized that a gentleman's club was more profitable when in our situation, because we could run it from, at that time we were running it from 8 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
And just to do a 2-hour show, you got the 2 drinks and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
The length of stay for a guy right now is averaging about 4 hours.
Wow.
Or a girl. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a lot of women that come in the club.
Mm. Are they normally coming in as groups, as a couple, or by themselves?
The gals?
Yes.
We get, well, you know, we'll get, especially let's say Saturday, we'll get a lot of couples. When college is out, there's as many girls in the club as guys. Then we'll get, you know, a birthday party here and there where the girl is bisexual or maybe she's a lesbian and this is what she wants to do. It's her birthday. And all the girls that work for us are female friendly. So it's a different time. I've seen over my career, things change incredible in this industry as far as being acceptable by women.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, and I know in certain cities it's a very common after like an after club or after hours spot just to go to the strip club for both men and women.
That is true, and now, forgetting pre-COVID, I'm going to say in the last 10 years, we have no dance clubs left on Long Island. We were down to maybe our last 3. Pre-COVID, because the cost of insurance is astronomical.
Wow. And in general, are the dance clubs or the gentlemen's clubs more profitable?
Well, I had a dance club from 82 to 89. So comparing it to today's standards, I'm going to say a gentleman's club is more profitable. You know, you have a much larger payroll. It all depends. My gentleman's club is small. On a Saturday night or a Friday night, I might have 9 or 10 dancers, and that's all that I need. Mm-hmm. And it's not where you have 50 or 100 dancers. First of all, we pay our girls, and that's the big difference between us and everybody else who 1099s the girls. Mm-hmm. Our business philosophy is if the girls don't sell dances, we can't afford to pay them. So then they're not allowed to stick around. They got to go.
Okay.
It's very, very, very different. We have our own mythology. I'm not sure if you went to my website, www.billydeans.com. That's BILLYDEANS.com. And I will be explaining to people in a video, when I hire people, I try to hire them with no experience. Mm-hmm. And we teach them, and I will use this quote, the Billy Dean way. Mm-hmm. And the Billy Dean way is our training. Mm-hmm. And our training is something that you hire a girl that's got no experience, so she comes in with no bad habits. So we teach her, and that's all she knows.
Okay.
If you've worked somewhere else, I try not to hire you.
Wow. Okay. What are some of those bad habits that they come in with?
Okay. Let's start with attitude. Mm-hmm. Girls that dance generally have an air about them that they expect to make a certain amount of money. Mm-hmm. And the way that a girl reaches me to apply for a position, I mean, it wasn't like this years ago, but with today's technology, is they come to my website, they watch my video, and then they reach out to me and they send me their photos. And I tell them online, I'm the only one that's going to see your photos. So you don't have to feel threatened or feel like, I mean, I'm not interested really in women in that respect, only as employees. I like men. But women are apprehensive if they've never done this before. So I stress that if you have no experience, we will hold your hand. And I also stress that if you're on government assistance or collecting unemployment, this job's not for you, because if I have to pay taxes, they have to pay taxes. And there's that big underground community of the dance world where a lot of these girls don't pay any taxes. And I can't do that. I don't want the exposure. I felt like that my whole career, even prior to having a dance club. Same with my my regular dance club. Everybody was on my payroll. I mean, they're under your direction and your control. Sorry, we might be going down a little bit different of an angle here, but what was the initial question?
I think you answered it quite well, but actually one thing that came up a bit earlier was you were saying that the female clubs are much more profitable than like male review clubs. Is that why there aren't any male strip clubs, aside from like Thunder from Down Under?
No. I said they were more profitable than nightclubs. Okay, as far as male review clubs, I stopped doing the show at least 10 years ago. We were competing with the city clubs. I guess it's okay. I really don't know where it is in today's world. Right now it's nowhere because none of the city clubs are open and there is no male dancing in the tri-state area that I'm aware of because there's nobody allowing with COVID to do anything like that. But as far as the dance clubs are concerned, somebody could come in, pay their cover charge at a dance club, and you can't demand a 2-drink minimum or even a 1-drink minimum. They paid their cover and they come in and they hang out. So the cost per head is much less. Plus, I find in the gentlemen's clubs that men are more generous. They will buy the girls' drinks that are working for us. Every time I'm in there, guests always offer to buy me drinks. It's just a different breed. Our clientele are blue collar, average age 21 to 35.
And in general, does a club make more from alcohol sales or from the percentage you get from dances and other things like that?
We charge a cover. So between the cover and dances and faces versus the liquor, it's just about a 50-50 split.
Okay. And what is the split for, let's say the girl gives a $20 dance or a $500 dance? I don't know what you guys charge, but like, is it a percentage or how does that split with the dancer and with the house?
Okay. Because the girls are on payroll, every dance that they do, the dance is $30. So the house gets 20 and the girl gets 10 because our minimum wage, is $10.65. So I think now she gets, she's got to cover her hourly wages. And that's how we determine whether or not the girl is working well enough for us to keep her. If she can't sell dances, then we can't keep her. Whereas if she works in a club that's a 1099 club, which quite frankly, it's not legal to 1099 the employees. And if you do 1099 the employees, that girl comes and goes as she pleases and does what she wants. I have very good control over my people because they are on my payroll. And that's an understanding that they have to accept when they come in to work for me. And that's why when you train them on your own, when they come in, that's all they know. So I make it very clear. I don't expect you the first week, the second week, or the third week to get it. But by the first month, you have to produce dances. Just to come in and make tips, I can't pay the rent.
And does the house get a percentage of the tips as well?
No. Nope, there's no tip outs. We don't have a million people walking around doing nothing. I don't know how old you are, but there was a TV show called Cheers.
I've seen it.
Okay.
Everybody knows my name.
That's exactly what our club is like. My partner, he is the bartender, and he is also an MC, and years ago he worked for Chippendales. He was a dancer. So he's got a wonderful personality. People come in to see him as well as the girls. And it is what it is. We have a niche market. We've been there a very, very long time. And we always, we have a steady 6 girls, but the other 6 are always turning over, or 5 or 8, or however many it is. Some weeks you have a few more, some weeks you have a few less.
And what's the typical work schedule like? Is it a typical 40-hour work week, 8-hour days with, 2 days off a week, or how does that work?
Well, for many years, we were open 7 nights a week. And the last few years, because we are getting older, we sat down and we did the numbers for us. After we paid our staff, it really only was profitable to us to be open 3 nights a week. And we picked the best 3 nights. We probably could do 4, but my partner and I are at a position in our careers that we don't have to, and we feel more comfortable being there when the club is open and not having any problems at all, because employees that are run by management, you never have peace of mind. When we were open 7 nights a week, we might as well have been there, because out of those 7 nights, if at least 2 or 3, when we weren't there, we ended up being there anyway. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine it's not an easy business to manage either.
It's not. And maybe if we were for us, it works. I'm not saying that every club should be like that. For example, we have gotten to a point in our careers where we're not killing ourselves because we're winding down, and being open 7 nights, opening at 8 and being open till 4 in the morning, it's quite grueling. Mm-hmm. Even though we have cameras and they're everywhere, you still have that issue of, if you leave the place with somebody else, shenanigans are going to go on. Mm-hmm. And we run the place with an iron fist, and that's why we're there 22 years. Mm. We have an excellent rapport with the community, an excellent rapport with the police, no issues with New York State Liquor Authority. I mean, we really, really run a tight ship. So the way it sits, the bottom line for us was the same. Now, if 2 young people came in and bought our business, I would strongly recommend they be open 7 nights a week, because we're the only club left in our county. And I know the township we're in has 800,000 people. The county probably has 1.5 million people. So being the only game in town, I think someone who has not got age like we do under our belt would probably do 4 times the amount of business.
Wow.
Because they're young. They're young. I know with the numbers that we did years ago, our numbers are still good. We were still making a nice living. So I just didn't want it anymore. I wanted to be able, we have other things going on in our lives. We have other investments, and I didn't want this to control my life until the day I retired. So we started to pull back about 4 years ago.
Okay. Nice. And what are your plans? I mean, when you retire, do you plan on selling the club, or?
Yes.
Okay. And where do people go to list a gentleman's club for sale, or to buy one for people listening to the show who are interested in buying an existing club? Where would they even look for one?
Well, my partner has a stack of business cards of people that have come in the last few years that want to buy the place. It's everybody's dream to own a club like ours. It's a great way to make a living. You just have to buy it for the right reasons. You have to buy it because you want to make money. Mm-hmm. You don't want to buy it unless you're filthy rich and you don't care. But if this is going to be your main source of income, you absolutely need to have that understanding that you have to work hard. It's like anything else. It's what you do is not, you do what you enjoy, but you work hard at it. Mm-hmm. And if you think you're going to treat it as a playground, you are not going to be successful. And that's one of our greatest accomplishments, is regimenting to keep the employees in a place where they know where their place is. And when the girls start running the club, and I've been in my lifetime, I've been in over 100 clubs. I can walk in 3 seconds, I will know if the girls are running a club. And in most of the clubs, the girls are running the club.
And what do you mean by that?
Okay, I'll give you an example. The management person goes over to a gal and says, "Okay, Mary, it's your turn on stage." And she said, "I'm not going up." No, it's your turn. I don't feel like it. That would never happen in my club. Why? Because when they come in, they are trained a certain way. There's no training program in clubs. And I'll give you another example. I get an average of 3 to 5 girls a week. They're sending me their photos because they're looking for work. Then they list the 25 clubs that they work in. That's not my girl. My girl is the girl that watched my video and said, "I've never danced before and I've always wanted to do this, and I think it would be a great job. I'm going to college." And that's my girl. So now I take my girl and I bring her in and I pair her up with my best girl, and my best girl is going to show her the ropes. When I was younger, I was able to do it myself. I've had some, physical ailments due with age, and I can't, be there all the time. So with that being said, that's all the girl will know is what she's taught. So when you bring somebody in that's worked in 25 clubs, they have picked up habits that are horrible. And and I don't understand, but I kind of do, because I've gone into places and see the girls telling the DJ or fighting with the DJ. We don't even have a DJ, for example. We have music, and the music is on a continuous loop. And all my partner has to do is flip a switch, and depending on the girl, that's the music that she's dancing to. And if she doesn't like it, well, she has no choice, because that's what he picked.
Okay.
A dancer in another club is going to go to the DJ. If they don't get along, her and the DJ, that's another personality you have to work with. I have seen in many occasions where a dancer is arguing with a DJ before she goes on set, for whatever reason is. Maybe the dancer didn't tip out the night before. I don't know, because I'm not, the music is on, but I can see the friction. So we always felt that it was better just to play music. And if the girl doesn't know any better, that's what she thinks she's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So we spend a lot of time training these girls to do things our way. But once they get it, they obey the rules, as opposed to someone else coming in from another club, and the girl will say, "Oh, by the way, this is the way we do it in XYZ club." "Honey," I said, "that's not the way we do it here." "Well, why not?" I said, "I took a chance on you. I told you I don't like to hire girls with experience, but you told me you really needed a job. So it's my way or the highway." And they usually last one night. Mm. And the rules are not difficult. They're not difficult, but a lot of the clubs don't have rules.
I would imagine that with a lot of the other clubs and the dancers that I've spoken to, your method is more like a steady paycheck, and a slow but steady. Everybody makes money. Everybody's is happy. Everyone can pay the bills. While at other clubs, it's kind of a crapshoot, where some days they go in and they maybe stand around for 10 hours and make nothing, or maybe they even lose money after they pay the house fee and tip everyone out. And then once in a while, they have a huge night. They make $5,000 or something, and that number is in their mind forever. And every night they go there, and they're just trying to get that magical, $1,000 or higher night.
I've heard that story. I don't believe it. The more often story that I hear is a girl will come in, and she will say to me, "Well, Rori, how much do you think I could make?" I said, "How do I know?" I said, "I don't know. You might sit on the couch and be a deaf, dumb mute, and not say a word. I don't know anything about you. Dancing has a lot to do with personality. You don't have to be a great dancer to make money. You have to be a conversationalist. And I've had beautiful women come in the club. They get off the stage and they don't talk to anybody. They don't sell dances. I can't work with a girl like that. So to ask me how much you're going to make when I know nothing about you is kind of an irrelevant statement. It's silly. And I said, you won't know until you try. And once you do try, then we could get a better handle on things. I could tell you what you're doing wrong. I can tell you how you can make more money, but I can't tell you anything if I know nothing about you. But you're right. They do set a goal. Or then there's another, I'll give you another example. A girl come in and she'll say, well, I have to make at least $500 a night. And my answer is, well, there's the door. This place is not for you. Anybody that comes in with expectations of making X amount of dollars is not my girl. You have to take the good with the bad. Mm-hmm. It's the same as being a waitress. You have good days and you have bad days. My girls have a nice stream, steady clientele because we're only open 3 or 4 nights a week. And we have a lot of regulars. So they can bank on those people week after week after week. It's completely different. We're not in a tourist area. We fortunately have within, I'm going to say within an 8-mile radius now, close to 20 hotels, where years ago there was only 4. They were everywhere in Nassau County. And I'm not really sure why so many have opened. I don't think they're all doing very well, but we've had so many new hotels go up in the last, I'm going to say 10 years. Mm-hmm. But money-wise, it's all up to the girl. And some girls are just beautiful and guys want to dance with them. And we have a procedure. The girl does not collect the money. The money gets collected by the house. And then the girl does the dance.
In your club, do you, aside from the $30 dances, do you have like more expensive options as well?
They can get a half hour, but it's $200, but that includes 2 drinks for the gentleman or lady and 2 drinks for the person that's getting the dance.
Okay. And what would the split be for the dancer in the house?
It's the same thing. They don't get any cut of the liquor. But it's $20 for the house and $10 for the dancer. Okay, so 2/3 to the house and 1/3 to the dancer. That is correct.
Okay, and do you ever find that the girls, in that case, it seems like they're incentivized to make more from the tips on stage, or versus and just having the minimum amount of dances, so they. So they don't get fired, basically, so they can pay their dues. Like, do you ever find that there's some girls, well, what would you do in that situation where the girl's kind of just doing the minimum, she's getting some dances, but really she's making a killing on stage with tips, or just sitting with the guy and getting tips directly there? Like, how would you react to that? If she's making her minimum, I don't have qualms, but here's the situation. When a girl is up on stage, guys are signing up for that girl when she comes off stage. So she's got no choice. Mary Sue goes on stage, and when she comes off, Bob, Joe, John, Tom, they've already signed up for dances. She can't refuse the dance. Mm-hmm. So she's obligated to do those dances. As I said, that's how I pay my rent. More often than none, girls are soliciting, to sell the dances, because if there's not a lot of guys in the room and there's 6 girls on, they would rather be doing dances because they only get a certain amount of time on stage. So if it's your downtime and the guys that are in the room are not big spenders, they'd rather do dances because there's an opportunity there for them to make another tip. Yeah, definitely makes sense. And so in general, you think that from the solicitation, as in the girls walking around and saying, hi, how you doing? more dances are sold versus, because I would always, like, at least in my experience, if I see a girl dancing on stage, I've already seen her, and if I liked her, I would have already spoken to her or tried hoped that she would have came over. By her being on stage, in my experience, doesn't really affect if I want to dance from her or not. But are there a lot of guys who, they don't really even notice a girl until she is on stage, and then he's, tempted and saying, oh, you know what, let me sign up for the dance when she gets off?
Oh my God, that is so common with us. Well, you're probably used to going to clubs that have a lot of dancers. I mean, some of the clubs in the city have 100 girls working. We have, like I said, we have a small staff. We have a small place. So the fellas know that once that girl is off, she's available to do the dance. It's a different concept, different formula. The numbers are completely different. You might have, when you have 100 to choose from or 8, big difference, big swing. But it's good for the size of the room. You couldn't put 100 dancers in my room. The facility's not that large.
But as a customer, can I, grab a girl, and say, like, I want to dance now, and even though she's scheduled to be next on stage?
Yes, and then what we do in a case like that, somebody's got to cover for her, but it's a two-way street. The next time that girl that's covering for her has a dance, she's got to cover her 6-minute dance. And that's another thing that we do that no one else does. We charge the price, and they get 6 minutes, and the house clocks the time.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And that's why we are so successful.
I get so annoyed when I buy a one song dance or a 2-song dance, and I can tell these, the DJ is cutting it at 1.5 minutes.
You're getting ripped off, or the dancer is ripping you off. It's not necessarily the DJ. It's the dance. Every club operates different, but I have seen in situations where the girl will say, time's up. Time's up. You didn't even do the whole song. Oh, yes, I did. Now you're getting into a verbal confrontation. There is we advertise right on our website, 6-minute lap dance, right on there. And you don't get cheated. We have a stopwatch, one for, each girl that's dancing. I mean, we have it down. We have such a great science, and it works. But it's a lot of work to get there. It didn't happen overnight. It took years to perfect. And people, they walk in and, they see how it's a very well-oiled machine. And with that being said, they just think, that every place is like that, and it's not. There's so much crap going on behind the scenes, and we don't tolerate it. We're all there for one reason, and one reason only: to make money. This is how we pay our bills.
Do gentlemen club owners talk to each other and maybe exchange ideas? Are you friends with other club owners? Is there like a convention or anything like that you guys go to every year?
Yeah, there is a convention. It's run by ACE, which is, I don't even know what the abbreviation is for, but you can look them up on the website. I think it's called ACE's Gentlemen's Expo. It's held in Vegas. I went the first few years when I found out about it, and that was back in the, I'm going to say late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I can't remember. It's the same kind of stuff year after year. I do speak to a few of the club owners, but only one locally. I tried to organize a local chapter for ACE on Long Island, and they had absolutely no interest whatsoever in doing it. And I never understood that, because when there's litigation, it's so much easier for class action. Unfortunately, we do have our fair share of litigation in this industry. So you can talk to other club owners, but now everybody comes to us because we've been in the game the longest. And from time to time, we get calls from people that we don't know. And this is the situation, have you been down this road before? And I think I've been down every road in this industry. But association is still around, and I've been watching their website to see what the updates are. Bars in the entire state of New York are closed. Not just our business, but the entire state.
Do you ever feel like there's a lot of kind of like pressure from the state or the community, or kind of as a like politically correct standpoint, to try to close clubs or try to put more limitation on clubs? And like, how do you battle against that?
Well, when we first started in the location, prior to getting there, we were doing the male dancers, and it was very socially acceptable. And my partner, who had worked for Chippendales and then went out on his own, he worked in a place in the next town over. So when we started with that, everything was okay. Then we brought in the Foxy Boxing show and the Hot Oil Wrestling show. And we had a few neighbors that had some concerns. So we sat down and we met with them. And everything after that was status quo. Yeah, some communities are like that. And that's why you have to try to be in a commercial spot. You can't go into a neighborhood, although some of the clubs that have been around lease-wise longer than us, they're not the same owners. There's one or two in a residential neighborhood. I think only one now. I think the other one went out. But yeah, it's the NIMBY syndrome, not in my backyard. But in the meantime, I have to laugh because so many women have been in the club, and the women that are complaining about it don't seem to quite understand that today's youth, our demographics, 21 to 35, it's socially acceptable to go watch girls dance. Very acceptable.
Yeah, I think it's a hard thing because in California, where I lived most of my life, I've only seen clubs close down. I've never seen not even a single club open. There's, it's the same as casinos or card rooms, where somehow, some of them have been around for 10 or 20 years and got grandfathered in, but it seems almost impossible to open a new one.
It's quite difficult. The regulations are difficult to even open a bar or a restaurant, and now you're adding the mix of dancing. It's not an easy feat. Trying to find that right location. I know I looked before I bought this place. I looked and looked and looked, and I said, I can't build from scratch. I said, I have to find a place that has exactly what I'm looking for, and this place did. It had a cabaret, it had a kitchen, and that's really what we needed. We do a lot of bachelor parties, and we serve a buffet, so that's why I needed a kitchen.
Oh, well, so what is the buffet? A paid buffet, or is it like a marketing, like another marketing promotion? Like a lot of clubs around the U.S. Have, let's say, free lunch buffet or $5 lunch buffet during weekdays, etc.
No, we did the buffet. If you book a private party, then you get the buffet included. And I cook the food myself, and it's really good. Sausage and peppers, pasta primavera, sweet and sour chicken, Italian meatballs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You sold me. Without even seeing the girls, I'll come by for just that.
No, and when you book a party, getting back to the training, part of their training is I teach them how to serve the food. Now, can you imagine going to a gentleman's club anywhere else where the dancers were serving the food? No. But this is what they're taught, and this is what they do, and this is what is expected of them. So with that being said, that is why I have this certain type of business philosophy. Yes, it is a lot of work, but if you train them from the beginning and you train them right, I mean, I've had people that have worked for me 18 years, 15 years, 12 years. They made a career But they started with me, and this is what they know. So those girls, in my opinion, are always better. Do they have other issues? Of course they do. We all do. We're human. It's only to be expected.
So it seems like you have a very unique way of doing things at your club. Is there anything that, you think that if you did differently, it would definitely make you a lot richer and make you a lot more money, but it's just something that you're not willing to do, for, moral or ethical or, lifestyle reasons, for example?
No. If I had to do it all over again, I'd do exactly the same way. And like I said, at this point of our careers, just because we've slowed down, it's almost like our regulars know when we're open, and they know that if they don't come and see us on those days, we're not going to be there. But no, I have improved that club and turned it over and changed it and done different things. I've tried all kinds of things. But basically, we know what works, and it's a fine-tuned car. It just runs like a clock.
Well,
So
I
wouldn't change anything.
It sounds like you found your niche pretty well. I feel like just looking at the specials and the ads for other clubs, they're always changing it up to try to find what works for them or what happens to work at that moment. Maybe it's bringing in like adult porn stars to do a feature show for 1 week only, or having a pizza night, or fried chicken and porn night, or whatever it is. But it have you, like, what were some of the kind of failed marketing efforts that you tried that ended up just being a complete mess, or just not working out?
Well, just getting back to what you're saying, our facility could never pay to bring in a porn star because the facility is not large enough. You can't recoup your dollars. They've got to get paid, and they get paid astronomical amounts of money. Although today, in today's world, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, there's so many of them, and nobody's making big money because there's just so many to choose from. But that, to me, is not enough of a draw, because girls make one movie and they're trying to sell themselves from one movie. They're too obscure. You need, for the last girl that I can remember touring through our area, and she did one club that had the capacity. All the clubs where we are small. There's only one very large club, and that was Amy Fisher. She shot Joey Buttafuoco's wife. Do you remember her?
Yeah, I've seen it.
And she just did okay. She's not a dancer. She's not an entertainer. She's just somebody that was in the news. Failed things that we tried, I don't know. Everything we did was pretty good. I think our best promotion was the birthday promotion, because it brought in new people.
Yeah.
And to this day, there are people that'll say, because I ask, how did it end up here? Oh, years ago I came here with a friend. It was his birthday. That's years later.
Yeah.
So they remember us. And we're that, like you said, we're that kind of place where all the restaurants, when they closed down, the help would come in. Unfortunately, there's no nightclubs left. But years ago, when we had nightclubs, when the clubs closed down, people would come in, especially the wait staff, because they want to just blow off some steam. They just worked hard. But we've tried. We're big on costumes. For example, for 4th of July, the girls wear red, white, and blue outfits, but it's kind of tough. We're not far from Jones Beach, so kind of hard to get a crowd in there, but the girls get all excited because they get to wear a special outfit. We did leather and lace. We've tried them all. Pajama party, lingerie. It's good for the night, but does it draw any more people? Not really.
It sounds like that birthday card promotion was a big hit, but have you ever gotten in any trouble, with the husband getting this card in the mail and the wife not knowing about it, saying, "Who is this? How did they have your information?"
Yes, actually, and beside us sending out to our guests. I don't know if you remember, years ago, you could buy mailing lists.
Mm-hmm.
We would buy mailing lists, and we would buy mailing lists from the people that lived in the local area.
Mm.
And it was the same. It always comes in an envelope. It's not a postcard. So it came in an envelope. And I would say, maybe your husband wasn't here. We do buy mailing lists from mailing list companies.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if he was here or not.
Okay. Well, sounds like if I'm ever in that area for my birthday month, I'm definitely going to stop by for that buffet and also the drinks with 15 of my friends. So guys and gals listen to the show, if you want to join me next July 2021, hopefully we can be over at Billy Deans Showtime Cafe. Rori, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and experience. We really, really appreciate it.
Well, you are quite welcome, and it was a pleasure.
All right. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, Sam, what did you think?
So this establishment is the Cheers of strip clubs. Totally different type of strip club than I'm used to going to. How about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I've been to a lot of strip clubs in the world, and this is like the friendly neighborhood bar. I can see myself going to this. I actually took a look at their website. It's Billy Dean Showtime Cafe, and it feels like a small town vibe. I mean, it is a small town. It's not, like the big part of the major city. They have photos of all the girls that work there on the site. And you can see it's somewhere that people, go after work and just go chill out, especially because there's, no nightclubs in their city. So that has become, the place to go and drink.
Yeah. Tell me about your experience, Johnny. When you go to these type of clubs, are you, what's your interaction with the dancers? Are you typically just kind of passive, or are you much more engaging?
So my favorite thing about going to strip clubs is, to be honest, and besides seeing beautiful girls, it's so interesting to talk to them and find out what's going on in their minds, and hear their life stories, because they've all had the craziest life experiences imaginable, and they meet so many interesting people. And on top of that, they just meet so many people that just open up to them, not only open their wallets, but just like open their mouths and just say like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but our company's, tanking or something, like you definitely shouldn't invest in this company.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. That's so this club, I feel like, would be somewhere in the middle. I guess my experience is I probably would frequent strip clubs a lot more often if I could just sit in my like little cubby and have my own space and just kind of watch the girls dance and throw money at them. Some of them, most of the ones I went to in South Florida, they're super aggressive. There's basically a line of girls who come talk to you. And if you say no to one, there's another one on your shoulder. And I think a lot of people really, really like that. They don't have to work. They just have tons of girls coming up and talking to them.
That's my favorite.
But for me, it's different. It's like I'm constantly being hustled, and I just want to go and like sip my gin and tonic and we'll watch the girls dance. So I guess it's different for everybody, but I know I would visit them more often if it was a little bit less in your face. But yeah, from this episode and previous episodes, that's where all the money is. So can't blame them.
Yeah, but there is also different styles of strip clubs. I mean, even in cities like Kiev, Ukraine, for example, there's a club called Scarlet, which I hated because it was exactly what you like, where girls come on stage, they dance, nobody comes to talk to you. Nobody, nobody, hustles you or bothers you. You just sit there and drink. And then if you want to dance for someone, you have to tell the waiter to go get the girl for a dance. Otherwise, nobody bothers you. You could just sit there for 3 hours.
Wasn't that similar to the one that we went in Vilnius, Lithuania? It was just like 2 leather couches, Johnny and me, cigars, whiskey, and like 2 girls dancing. And I don't feel like they ever came up to us. It was just like, we're just sitting back chilling.
Yeah, but that was small enough where if you smiled at them and kind of like made eye contact, they would come over.
Oh, I smiled, Johnny. I smiled.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you smiled enough because they definitely sat next to me. I remember that.
Uh, but that style, like that for me, I enjoy. It's like us, we can sit there and talk and hang out, be ourselves.
Yeah,
But
I do.
yeah,
I do like
obviously that club didn't make much money that night. You know,
Yeah.
like,
See, so I mean, it's a
they sold like
balance,
two
right?
drinks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a balance of, making their customers happy, but also, making sure the dancers make enough money. So I really like my favorite style, and I've seen kind of, the whole spectrum, right? From in Las Vegas, the Spearmint Rhino, where they'll send a limo to pick you up for free. That's a big
I like that.
hack. Is never take a taxi or an Uber to the strip club, because they have to pay those taxi drivers commission. So to pay that commission, they charge you a huge entrance fee. What you want to do instead is call the club directly and ask for a pickup, and they'll pick you up in an SUV or a limo or a Tesla, and they'll drive you to the back door and let you in for free.
Spearmint Rhino in Vegas. That's another one we went to.
Yeah, I love that one. That was my favorite.
That's a good one.
Like
That's a
80
good one.
girls working at any time. But my favorite setup, and I've seen this a few times in a few different countries. I'm trying to remember exactly where now, but and they were all in kind of Eastern Europe. But what it is the girls they'll dance on stage. Nobody bothers you, but the girl will go dance on stage, and then she comes down and she basically makes a quick round where she'll go up to every single table and just like give you a 1 minute preview dance for free. And then just ask, not ask for a tip, but yeah, kind of ask for a tip. Like, so there's no money being thrown on stage, nobody's tipping on stage. But then when they come down, it's kind of expected to give them a, pretty small tip, like $1, $2, $3 tip or something. Mm-hmm. And I like that because it's kind of like a very minimal obligation. It's like a very small amount. They get paid like a steady kind of salary, but then you get that, you basically get a free, like a Costco, like appetizer lap dance, for the couple of bucks.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like when systems are in place. They here's the standard operating procedures and like, here's what's to be expected. And that sounds what Rori's done at her club. She's taken out a lot of like the bullshit, a lot of the discretion, and just like standardized the experience for the dancers and for the customers. And I think that's pretty cool. One thing that was interesting at Spearmint Rhino, so for all the listeners, Johnny and I went Spearmint Rhino. Oh, it was actually after the iLab Summit last year. We did the iLab Summit in LA. Then we got like 20 people flew to Vegas, hung out in Vegas for a few days, did like
we drove Ferraris and Lamborghinis, and
then went to Spearmint. It was an amazing trip.
Awesome. It was incredible.
Stay tuned for the next summit or meetup where we're at. But one thing that I found so amazing at Spearmint Rhino, I ended up just paying a girl to sit next to me and talk to me for like 2 hours, no dances, nothing. I'm just like, I was so fascinated by everything she was saying. One of the most interesting things she was saying was that almost, I don't know how many girls were working there that night, maybe 100.
Yeah.
She's like, almost none of these girls live in Vegas. I'm like, what? She's like, everyone's flying in for like 2-3 days. I'm like, where are you from? She's like, Missouri. I'm like, wow. Missouri? She flew in from Missouri. She works 3 nights and then she flies back to Missouri. I'm like, that's crazy. Yeah. But that's how much money they're making.
Yeah. And it's smart. It's really, really smart for them to do. I would do it. If I was a college girl dancer out in, really anywhere with cheap flights to Vegas, which is almost every single state, why not? Have a bunch of fun, make a ton of money, all in cash,
go relax,
home.
relax on the countryside farm.
Yeah.
Lick your wounds.
Yeah. But at the same time, like the Billy Dean style, I think the girls get paid a more consistent salary. For sure they do. But I think for sure the highs are much lower and the lows are much lower. So that is one formula to follow. Maybe that's what works best in her market. That's not what I would do if I owned her club. If I bought her club, there was I was like, as I was doing the interview, I was thinking there's so many things I would change right away. First, it'd be operating 7 days a week. Second, I would for sure offer some kind of like daily like meal, like a dinner buffet or something, just to get people in, or like a set menu, instead of just having it for special occasions. And I would just like, there's so many things I'll just kind of change up, and I think I could make it super profitable. I mean, I'm sure it's already making a lot of money, and I almost kind of feel that strip clubs make money not because of great management, but just because of, sex sells. Beautiful women sell. People want to spend money. When there's alcohol and strippers, people want to spend money. And I honestly feel like 99% of strip clubs are just terribly managed.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree. And I've never known a strip club owner. I've never seen the inside operations. I've always enjoyed my time there. So I guess I assume that they're managed pretty well, but it's a different type of breed to be able to manage a late night club or a strip club. Like, it sounds like Rori's up till 4 a.m, at least 3 or 4 nights a week. And that, they want to be there hands-on managing. They don't want to bring in outside management. And even for the few extra nights a week that they could stay open. She said on the episode, she's like, someone that came in and bought this and stayed open 7 nights a week could probably make 3 times as much money. It's just not what's important to her at this stage, which sounds crazy to a lot of people listening, including myself. But man, that's it's a different lifestyle. But I think the way that she's set up this club and this establishment takes a lot of the stress out for her and also for the dancers. Like, it seems like it's a pretty, you kind of know what you're getting into every single night. You kind of know what you're going to make, and you're not going to have these like far off highs and lows, both in terms of experience and money.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So here's a question: is if her club went for sale and she emailed Sam at investlikeaboss.com and said, "Hey, do you want to buy it?" What would you say?
I would 100% invest, 100%, but I would not. And I would be a patron. I would go hang out, especially if it was local. I'd probably be there 3 nights a week, but I would invest without the expectation that this is going to be a massive moneymaker, or I would just want to be totally hands off but I think it would be really fun to be part of something like this. Absolutely. How about you, John?
Okay. Rory, if you want to sell, send us a message, because Sam and I will go 50-50. I'm happy to manage it. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun to manage the dancers, but also I think it'll be a ton of fun to think of promotions. Tuesdays can be, tacos and titties.
Naked sushi.
You know what? I've had naked sushi at strip clubs, and it's smart. I mean, they don't have to make the sushi. They just order the sushi. Make sure the girls like hand sanitize down, put some chopsticks out, and it's like the whole club gets excited. Like there's so many things to do.
But Johnny, I agree with all this, man, but you're really going to move to Long Island to manage a strip club? That doesn't seem like, I think you have the personality to do this. I think you have the personality to manage it. I think you would manage it well. I think you could manage the dancers well and the staff well. I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do that. It's not in my personality or my skill set. But why not do it in like Kiev, or do it in one of these places that we actually do hang out each year? And you could probably find one of these establishments for a quarter of the price.
Mafias. That's the reason. Like, every other country where we can invest in this, like, you have a risk of getting killed by the local mafia. In the U.S.,
what about like Taiwan, where you're kind of native in a sense?
Dude, I've known people who have gotten their businesses closed down by like the Taiwanese mafia for opening like gym chains and like random other things. So I have a friend I hung out with in Bangkok. I think he was missing like a toe or something.
Oh,
he had like a wobbly knee or something, because the Taiwanese, like kind of basically gangsters came into his bar and just fucked him up.
And they cut off his toe?
Or something like that. I don't remember what it was. It was something bad. And I was like, really? Like this happened to you? And he's like, yeah. Like, but and Tim Ferriss.
This stuff happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Tim Ferriss got his gym chain shut down in Taiwan. So Taiwan is a very good, safe country, but like there's still some hoodlums out there.
Business is cutthroat, man.
Yeah.
Where this actually does happen semi-regularly in different formats is in Thailand. You get these expats that move there at, for retirement, and they go to these girly bars in like Pattaya or Bangkok, wherever. And like, you can buy these things for like $50,000 or $100,000. And these guys buy it thinking it's going to be like this amazing retirement business. Or oftentimes they get a girlfriend there, and that girlfriend wants like her own business, and they're like, well, let's just buy one of these clubs. And like, you go there, these clubs, and you see these owners, you'll see these English, Aussie, American guys that are like behind the bar and they own the club. But I've never actually talked to them about how that experience has been. But it's certainly more common and seems less life-threatening in some ways.
Well, there is one that you can invest in. Nightwish Group.
Do tell.
They are based in Pattaya, but I think they also own a lot of like, I don't know, one of those, the soys in Bangkok, and they are actively taking investments, and basically they just open like new clubs with you. So you become kind of 50-50. It's nightwish-group.com. And they have,
how'd you find them?
So that guy with the toe, or
the guy without the toe,
without the toe,
the toe guy.
He was looking. He's been hanging out with these guys because he actually got stuck during COVID in Pattaya, and he became good friends with these guys. And they were drinking every night. Like, they would bring over like cases of Thai whiskey and girls, and just drink and party. And
Jesus.
and he's looking into investing with these guys.
If there's ever a nuclear holocaust, for some reason, Pattaya will survive. Pattaya will survive anything, all nuclear fallout. It's everything's already been thrown at Pattaya. You can't put a dent in it.
Yeah. So it is pretty crazy. And from what I know, these guys, have really, really good kind of relationships with the local community, the local police. They donate a lot of money to the like local police funds and things like that. So
I can see that.
I think you kind of have to.
Well, let's get them on. That would be a good part 3.
Oh my God.
Sequels 2. What's 3?
Usually the third is a failure when it comes to a movie. A trilogy. We're doing a trilogy. You know what? I think even this one is pushing it, guys. All right, if you guys really want to know more, ask us on the Patreon, and we'll keep it private in there. This is kind of
we could just do a trilogy for the Patreon.
Yeah. So if you guys really want to know, ask in there. We'll try to get some information from my buddy. But I think this wraps up the strip club economics, because here's kind of what I learned from it. There's a ton of money to be made. It's very hard to buy a strip club. It's almost impossible to build a new one unless you are basically lining, government, bribe money to local governments and building in a industrial complex, complex somewhere out of the city. And it's a somewhat risky business because you can get shut down all the time, like by zoning or by neighborhood, neighborhood people. Just if they don't want you there, it's kind of hard to stay. So there's way more being shut down than there are being built. I think the only real way to invest in one is to kind of just keep cold calling these people, once a month and say, hey, if you want to sell, I'm a cash buyer.
Yeah, this is definitely the type of business that owners wake up one day and go, I've had enough. And they just want to get out of the business. And with that, for a buyer, it's all about timing and just staying in their face. As Rory mentioned, like insurance for these are just, the cost is astronomical, as you can probably imagine. And those costs are just going to keep going up and up. Yeah. So at some point, people get burned out, and who's waiting in line to buy this thing? It's Johnny FD.
Yeah, that's how Marks. Send us an email, Rory. So guys, and gals, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, this was kind of a one-off, or I guess two-off fun episode to kind of get us through, these crazy times and all the other news going on in the world. So don't worry, we'll get back to our normal scheduled investments soon. But Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you to the Patreons for basically paying for Derek's salary so he can hound strip club owners to come on the show. And it was very, very hard because almost basically all of them besides Rori just are very secretive and they don't want to talk about it. You know, they're doing shady, kind of things, or they're paying people off. So it's an industry that's really hard to crack. So we're happy that even though Billy Deans Showtime Cafe is a very different model than a lot of other strip clubs, and it's a slightly, it's a smaller club, it was still good insights, and it was fun talking to Rori. So Rori, thank you so much for coming on, and Patreons, thank you so much for supporting the show. Without you, this and many, many other episodes would not have happened.
Agree completely. Thanks, Johnny, for picking up that episode, Derek for setting it up, and for everyone out there for all the 5-star reviews. We're just on the cusp of crossing 400 5-star reviews in the USA, which is a huge milestone for us. So thank you for that. Keep them coming in and keep the conversation going in the Patreon group and in our Boss Lounge forum on Facebook.
Thanks for listening to the Invest Like a Boss podcast. Join our mailing list at investlikeaboss.com to get exclusive access to our insider investment portfolios and our private members forum.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends and leave us a review in the iTunes store. It helps more than you know. See you guys next week.